Morning, folks. How are you? So yesterday we spoke about Alex and the alternatives he had and his no-lose model. And some of the things then to consider what we're talking about today is before making a decision. This is some of the things that you might want to might want to focus on. So the first one is focus immediately on the no-lose model. Affirm to yourself, I can't lose regardless of the outcome of the decision I make. The world is a place of opportunity, and I look forward to the opportunities in learning and growing in either the pathway it gives me. Push out thoughts of what you can lose. So get rid of these thoughts of what you can lose, and allow only thoughts of what can be gained out of this. And use the previous examples of positive thinking on things to focus on. Morning, Anne-Marie. Morning, David. Morning, Francis. So the next one is do your homework. So there's much to learn about the alternatives that lie before you. It is most helpful to talk to as many people that will listen. Don't be afraid to approach professional relative to the decision to be made. A few might put you off, but most will be happy to help. In fact, they'll be flattered that you came to them for advice in the first place. Look for the feedback from other sources as well. Talk to people at dinner parties, when you're going for a haircut or a beauty salon, or you're at the hairdressers, the doctor's office, or wherever it is. You can talk to people that you know and run it by them. People you meet in unlikely places can create valuable connections in the ways that you never thought you could really imagine. Or they might even give you an insight learned from their personal experiences themselves. That's often the case. It's important you talk to the right people, though. So let me give you a definition of the right people. And these are those people that will support you in your learning. That's key here. And growing. If you talk to people who are constantly putting you down and telling you about the possibilities in the wrong ways to do things and saying that you can't do things, politely say thank you and go somewhere else. I mean, we've all had teachers in our life that have actually taught us certain things. I mean, I've been taught before as well. Like the first time somebody taught me is shame on you. The second time is shame on me. And applied to the situation, if you discuss something with people who are insensitive to your needs, well, shame on them. If you continue to allow yourself to be battered by their words, well, shame on you. Now, you don't have to continue to having conversations about your decisions with those who make you feel bad about yourself. Now, remember that. You should talk to people who can support you, which with statements like, it's terrific you're actually considering that, or I think you're doing beautifully at that. Well, you get the picture. Why put yourself in a position to feel miserable when it's so easy to feel great? Also, don't hesitate to talk to people about your plans. Just because you're fearful that if they don't work out, you'll look like a failure. Swallow your pride, but by investigating as fully as you can, you're cutting off valuable. By not investigating as fully as you can, you're cutting off valuable sources of information that might help you enormously. So remember, you're not a failure if you don't make it. You're a success if you actually try. Morning, Andrea. Morning, Alana. So, classic example of that. There is no such thing as a false start if you're seriously committed to advancement. I mean, my first experience was probably Fife Employment Gazette. Nobody will know it. It never made the shelf. This was way before the internet. So I came up with an idea, rather than have jobs in the paper, to have one actual paper that was circulated among everybody with actual jobs and advice and support for everyone. Now, I didn't launch that Fife Employment Gazette, but I didn't think big enough. And then what came out of it was the Employment Gazette actually went UK-wide, probably 6 months later after I'd considered Fife Employment Gazette. Now, I had been round everybody and I talked to a whole load of employers, and a lot of them were actually optimistic. They were actually encouraging me. But some actually said, that'll never work. You've got no chance. It'll never take off. Now, I could look back and think, well, that was a waste of time and all the rest of it. But the reality was, it actually taught me a lot of valuable lessons in what I was doing. It actually taught me a lot about rejection as well and how to handle that. It actually taught me a lot about how to interact with other businesses and other business owners and managing directors and HR people and human resources. So it taught me a very, very valuable lessons. So even though Fife Employment Gazette never made it to anything but in my imagination and maybe a business plan, because it was. It taught me a lot of valuable lessons, which stood me in good stead for what I do now. So if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be as far on my journey here. So it could be said that there are many false starts in anyone's career. Not so. Each step along the way, we are made more and more ready to enter another field, even though the outcome may not have been what you originally pictured, and certainly learned on how to deal with rejection. Just said that, yeah. Putting your ideas out into the world by constantly talking about them, creating a few doubting Thomases, yet only does take and bring in valuable information. It clarifies your intention to have what happened, and your intention is powerful as a powerful tool in creating something you want in your actual life. So, establish your priorities. This will require some soul searching. Give yourself some time to really think about what you want out of life. It's a very difficult thing to discover for most of us, since we are trained at an early age to do what other people really want us to do. We are out of touch with those things that really bring us satisfaction. And we spoke about this before. Often we are doing things for everybody else's satisfaction rather than our own, because we feel we need to continuously please people, our parents, our peers, people round about us. That's not always the case. There's only one person you should be looking after. Probably yourself first, and then you can look after other people. It's a very well-known phrase. To make it easier, ask yourself which pathway is more in line with your overall goals in life at this present time. It's important to remember that the goals constantly change throughout your life, and as you keep reassuring yourself of them, the decision you make today might not be the decision you'll make 5 years from now. If you're having trouble clarifying your overall goals, don't worry about it. It may take many more decisions and much more experimentation with different situations to discover how best to use your priorities and order your priorities. At least you're beginning to pay attention to who you actually are. Allow yourself confusion in the searching process. It is through confusion that you finally come up with clarity. That's quite a profound statement. It is through confusion that you finally come up with clarity. So trust your impulses. Although you might have difficulty in getting to the person within through the soul-searching process, your body sometimes gives you some really good clues in which way to go, even after you've done your homework. I was really surprised as well when I actually did this after doing my homework and really trusting my gut. So here's a classic example of how I trusted my gut and I found out, and it led me to another place. So I was at a pivotal point many years back, before I was a financial director. I had a choice. I actually was interviewed for Bell Security, who was actually going to float in the stock exchange the year after. So I was actually interviewed for them. Edwin Strang flew up from down south, interviewed me in the airport, and offered me the job of financial controller of Bell Security just before the flotation. And that's what he said his intention was, to bring me in and nurture me and develop me to become probably one of the leaders in Bell Security. Now, Bell Security, you probably won't know them, but they actually do all the bank security systems, and a lot more now because they've moved into other circles. So I had to trust my gut about what I really wanted to do and where I wanted to go with that. I could have taken that, but at that time I was at that pivotal point where my buy-to-let business was growing to a point that actually I could afford to walk away and actually still earn a reasonable income. So I had to take that. Was I driven by this one? Is this really what I wanted, or is this what my peers wanted? Is this what I wanted to show everybody else? So I decided not to take that job and refuse it, and go on my journey. And 2 weeks later, I was offered a financial directorship with a local company, and I never even knew that existed at the time. So trust your gut and move forward from that. That's probably the most important lesson I learned from that. So lighten up is the final one. We live in a world where most people take themselves and their decisions very seriously. Well, I have news for you. Nothing is really that important, honestly. If, as a result of a decision you make, you lose some money, Well, no problem. It's not the end of the world if it's just a small amount. You learn to deal with the losing of the money. If you lose a partner, no problem. You'll find another one. If you choose to divorce, no problem. You'll learn to handle living on your own. If you choose to marry, no problem. You'll learn to handle a new kind of sharing. So start thinking about yourself as a lifetime student at a large university. Your curriculum is your total relationship with the world that you live in. From the moment you're born to the moment you die, each experience is a valuable lesson to be learned. So if you choose path B, you will learn a different set of lessons. Geology or geometry, when you think about it, just a different teacher and different books to read, different homework to do, different exams to take. It really doesn't matter. If you take path A, you get a taste of the strawberries. If you take path B, you get a taste of the blueberries. If you hate both strawberries and blueberries, you can find another path. The trick is simply to make whatever place you're in your educational forum and learn everything you can about yourself and the world around about you. So lighten up. Whatever happens as a result of your decision, remember, you can handle it. And I'll see you tomorrow at 6.